Welcome to Science Factions. Please welcome your host, Ben Firth.
Welcome to Science Factions, the out-of-this-world new game show from Monkey Barrel Comedy Club. I'm Ben, I'm your host, and I'm trapped up here in space. I was up in space before the lockdown, and I wasn't able to get back in time, and it's the whole thing now. So I'm trapped up here, and I'm just killing some time, and I've devised a really great little quiz, a sci-fi, fantasy, and pop culture quiz. And I'm going to be beaming up some friends from the planet Earth, from the comedy circuit, to pose some questions to. So yeah, that's the format. I'm up here, but I am connected to the planet Earth from my very good friend. He's very much my ground control to my Major Tom. Let me introduce. Are you there? Can I hear you? Are you there? Producer John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, idiot.
So, hello, Producer John. How is life down on Earth right now?
It's ending. You meatbags are in trouble.
Wow, that sounds a lot better than I'm led to believe from updates on BBC News. It sounds like a nightmare if you leave it up to the BBC. So it's really good to know from the ground that we're A-OK. Interesting thing, John. I did not know this, but you can speak fluent Klingon, which is handy for a sci-fi quiz. I didn't know that about you.
Would you like to hear some?
God, I would bloody love that, mate.
Smorges, morges, borges. Betorges, werges, gorges.
Okay, that sounds unlikely. It's not Klingon at all. I think you've just made that up. That has made me smile, and there is actually very little to smile about when you're trapped up in space. Who is our first guest? Who are you beaming up to me so that I can pose some questions to before I get bored or die of no air? Who have we got as our special guest?
Smorges, morges, borges. It's George Fox.
Hello, George Fox. How are you doing? The star of stage, screen, and our hearts, George Fox.
It's so great to be here. I've been beamed to you, but also I'm in a graveyard. Good.
Yes, we're having a problem with some technology, hence why I'm stuck in space in the first place.
And why I've been sent to this graveyard. Okay,
So
all right.
you're lucky. I have very little air, whilst there seems, though acrid, still some air hanging around that haunted house behind you.
Good. I was about to say that behind you, space seems incredibly interesting. It looks like a 90s concept of the internet or an internet cafe now.
Yeah, I was surprised that this is what it looked like as well. I was surprised. You don't see that in Apollo 11, really, do you? You don't. It's more like Tron. It's more like the film Tron. How are you, George? How is life on Earth?
It's good. I'm in a graveyard, so things are good. Look at
How are you surviving outside of the graveyard, back in your own home?
Good. I'm surviving well. I'm thriving in many ways. Everything that's going on in the world right now, I've been designed to survive it. Indoors, not talking to people, perfect. I can do.
Okay, I am very happy for you. Sounds a bit like antisocial hubris, but I'm glad it's working out for you. George, are you ready to play Science Factions?
I am absolutely ready to play Science Faction.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to be asking you, it's going to be 3 rounds of science fiction, fantasy, and pop culture-based questions. What are you standing in front of? What is your specialist subject for science fiction?
My specialist subject of why this is all behind me is because it's horror and horror movies. So specifically kind of 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I've watched a lot of horror in my time. So I'm ready for anything you're going to throw at me.
Okay, so you look like a mild-mannered member of society, but you filled your head with all kinds of images of blood and gore.
Absolutely.
And you could just go off at any moment and mow down some people in a Starbucks. I can't believe that this is where that has gone.
No. I'm perfectly normal. I'm perfectly reasonable. I'm just always thinking about it. There's a difference. There's a very, very, very distinct difference.
That's fine. Well, nobody's a criminal unless it's outside of their mind.
That is a really beautiful way to think of it, yeah.
It sounds like an admission of guilt, to be honest. So thank you for
Well, I was going to say that as well. Yeah, it does sound like you're kind of building up to, and now I must say in this video, where all of the bodies are.
I don't know, maybe that could be your prize. Rather than any sense of achievement or anything of monetary value, I'll just tell you where the bodies are buried.
Wow, what a lot of pressure on me to do well at this competition. To try, like, just the poor victims' families if I don't do well at what is essentially just general knowledge.
Well, with the stakes now incredibly high for episode 1 of Science Factions, George, are you ready to play?
I am ready to go. Hit me with it.
Let's do this. Question 1. In the closing credits to John Carpenter's original 1978 Halloween, the film's famous killer is not named as Michael Myers. What instead is the character listed as?
He is known as The Shape.
Ooh, yes, correct. What is the very first cinematic adaptation of a book by Stephen King, and in what year was it released?
Stephen King. Oh my God. I know it's not. Is it Cujo?
No, it is in fact Carrie, 1976. Who is considered the godfather of the dead?
Oh, George A. Romero.
Yes, he is. What is the name of the first film by Wes Craven? And can you name the Swedish film it was based on, and who directed that?
What is this? A 3-part question of one question?
That's 3 points up for grabs for you.
I feel it's maybe a reference to this. Maybe it's The Last House on the Left.
Ooh, yes, it is. That's 1 point.
And I feel like the original movie it's based on, which was, remind me again there, was it a Spanish?
A Swedish film.
Swedish. I believe that was the Lustenhusen under Luften.
I'm going to give you half points for whatever that was. Closer to Klingon than producer John's attempt.
That's what I was going for.
It was in fact based on the Swedish film The Virgin Spring by Ingmar Bergman.
Oh wow, that name actually makes more sense for that movie than The Last House on the Left.
Who appeared in the most cinematic movies as their respective character? Was it Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street, or was it Tobin Bell as Jigsaw from Saw?
I feel like it was Freddy Krueger.
It is in fact a trick question. They both have appeared the same amount of times. 8 films they've made. Extra point if you can name there is another horror character who appeared 8 times, but only 4 of his were cinematic films. The other 4 were released straight to video. Can you name that?
Is it Hellraiser?
Yes, it is. It's Pinhead from Hellraiser, yes. Warner Brothers' most successful film to date was My Fair Lady, until it was surpassed in 1974 by which horror movie starring Ellen Burstyn and Max von Sydow?
Oh, The Exorcist.
Yes, it is The Exorcist.
Who really freaked everyone out by being an old man, but then also actually being a young man. Like Max von Sydow just passed recently, but he's incredibly old in that movie. That's all makeup.
Yes. I don't know why it sprung into my head to say very much like Clive Dunn from Dad's Army. That's...
You know what? You're talking to the one person in the world who's going to enjoy that reference, so well done.
Thank goodness. And we've got him on the show.
Yes.
Now that he's watching and contributing at home. Which former Doctor Who appears as a priest in the film The Omen, famously killed by being impaled by a lightning rod thrown from a church roof?
Cannot think of the name. I'm going to have to pass.
It is about the second Doctor Who, Patrick Troughton. Which book by Jay Anson of an allegedly true story was turned into a 1979 film starring James Brolin and Margot Kidder, and then remade in 2005 starring Ryan Reynolds, of all people, and Melissa George?
Well, I'm very glad to be in front of another spooky house behind us, because it is, of course, the Amityville Horror.
It sure is correct. And here is your last question. What is the name of the baddie in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And can you name the real-life Wisconsin murderer of the 1950s that he is said to be based on?
It is Leatherface.
Yes.
And the killer... Oh Man, don't let me not get this. This is gonna really upset me if I don't get this. I know what it is, and it's right there.
If there's a clue, I'm a good host, so
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a clue. There is a famous dark comedy themed sketch group of recent years that is named after this killer. This killer, and they've named the sketch group after a gift shop that he doesn't run. There's no gift shop, but
I know it's not John Wayne Gacy because that's the clown guy, but that's all that's going through my head right now.
okay, it's Ed Gein is
Ed
the
Gein.
name.
I've never
Ed Gein's
got that.
family gift shop took
Could
the
you
name
say
from.
Ed Gein has the most forgettable name of all serial killers?
That's why they had to give him the ghoulish nickname in the press as the Butcher of Plainfield or the Plainfield Ghoul, because Ed Gein doesn't instill
but
fear.
I'm afraid of Ed Gein. It's like when they name storms and they have to give them a man's name. Because if they give it a woman's name, people go, "I'm not afraid of Storm Jessica." You gotta give it a man's name.
Storm Alice. Oh my god, that sounds like I can put a washing out. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, what you gonna do? Go into my phone and delete all my contacts? Whatever.
That is the end of round one, which I forgot to say it was called Random or Fandom. Do you know your fandom, or are you just some sort of random George? And I think what you have proved is that you do know your Freddy Krueger from your Freddie Mercury. So, producer John, can we get the scores at the end of round one?
Gorgeous. 8 points.
Ooh, 8 points.
I'm in Klingon. Thank you.
That was in Klingon. That was very fluent in Klingon. Right, George, it's on to round two, which is named Cosplay Heroes. You're now going to see...
So worried about this. Cosplay is such a real hate it or hate it even more kind of thing.
Yes, and the images that we are going to show you are of people...
This is an image round?
This is an image round.
This at all.
We have been, don't worry, we have been sensitive. And we're going to show you images of people who've taken, how shall we say, unusual left of center kind of approach to cosplay. Producer John, can you show us the first cosplay hero? Who, George, is that?
That is such a nightmare. That is a disappointment to their parents.
Ooh, okay.
No, okay. That is, it's a shark's mouth, and then it's a. Oh, is that? Oh, okay. I've just looked them dead in the eyes of their face, and the sadness hit me, and that made me feel, for a moment, like I'd wandered too far from the Shire, and then it hit me. It's your man from Saruman from Lord of the Rings. Your man will be my answer as an Irish person.
Your man. It's not Saruman. And it is the Eye of Sauron. It is the dark. Is someone cosplaying as the Dark Tower and the Eye of Sauron? Are you a big Lord of the Rings fan?
No.
Not really. Okay. Well, then these are going to crash and burn.
Good.
What does the JRR in Tolkien's name stand for? Question.
It was like the name that he used to use for his original podcast, which was just really talking with Tolkien, which
that's not it, but for imagination, that's getting a point.
Well, thank you. Thank you, appreciate that.
It is in fact John Ronald Reuel. Reuel, yes, I think that's how you pronounce it. Second bonus question. When Tolkien was a lecturer at Magdalen College, Oxford, he shared an office with another famous fantasy author who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. Name that author.
C.S. Lewis?
Yes, it is. That's a point.
Wow, I do not know how I knew that. That just popped into my brain. So, wow. Okay.
And it popped in with a whole juicy point for you. Producer John, let's see the next image. George, who on earth is that?
Oh my God. Is that Seth Green dressed as some version of Jason Voorhees in the movie Idle Hands?
That is a lot to unpack. That is, we were only looking for one, and it was Jason Voorhees. I don't know if it's Seth Green. I don't believe it is.
Okay,
But it is, in fact, Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th franchise.
Sorry, you came here expecting some light level stuff, and I'm like, I think you'll find that's the remake of the original version of a French movie that was actually a remake of a German movie. You weren't ready for this knowledge.
You've got some bonus questions on Friday the 13th. Would you like them, George?
I would like them. Very
Okay. Discounting stuntmen. How many actors have played Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th movie franchise and cinematic spin-off? So we're talking about, like, Freddy versus Jason, that kind of crap.
I think it's 6. It's 5 or 6.
Ooh, it is in fact 9. It is 9, George. Another bonus question. Can you name any of those actors?
Yes, Kane Hodder, who did it for the longest amount of time, and it was a fantastic guy. I think he also did it in Freddy vs. Jason.
Yes, he did. He did 4 films, so you got a point for that. Can you name any of the other 8?
Oh, no, I can't.
Okay, well, that's good enough. You've got yourself 3 points there. I'm going to give you an extra point. Just
the rules of this are really fun as they reveal themselves.
I might be floating around up here, free from any kind of legal restraint, but you have the very real possibility of murder from the house behind you, so I'll give you an extra point for that. John, let's have the third and final image for George. Who, George, on Earth or elsewhere is this?
That is so disturbing. It kind of looks like the cheapest version of Mickey Mouse that there's ever been.
That looks like a harmful Mickey Mouse. That is.
It does. That looks like a rat more than a mouse, for sure. Oh man, okay. Orange. Oh, you don't see a lot of orange in horror. Is it someone trying to be a pumpkin?
No, it's not. It's not just horror. It's not just horror. It can be from all across sci-fi, fantasy, pop culture, family films.
Is it the world's worst Cthulhu?
I mean, yes, it is, but also no, it's not.
No, it's not. Good. Oh man, okay. No, I'm struggling with this one. I can't place this one.
It is, in fact, this cosplay hero is pretending to be Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
What demented concept of horror movies do you have when, like, the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie counts as that?
It's not just about horror. We give you the first round.
Yeah.
It's all about horror, and then it's going to start drifting towards general.
General?
Yes.
General culture?
There's a fantasy element to those terrible. I mean, it's based on a ride at Disneyland. When most films are based on books or existing TV shows, that's based on just a teacup you sit in and look at some stuff. That's what they thought.
You do realize Pirates of the Caribbean isn't based on the teacups, right?
No, but you sit in a kind of barrel thing and it takes you around and you see tableaus of pirates getting up to piratey stuff. And I thought it would make a good movie, and so did they.
Have you been to Disneyland?
Yes, I have. It was great.
Okay. That sounds like a nightmare because you're talking to the people that work on those rides the way someone would talk to a gondolier in Venice. We're like, show me your tableau. I wish to be cultured.
Good. I like to feel like I'm a Renaissance man when it comes to Disney middle of the road family fare. So tell you what, I've got some follow-up questions for you, but here's another follow-up. What's another Disney movie that is based on a ride?
Oh, The Haunted Mansion.
Yes, starring Eddie Murphy. And that
I'll give you a little bit of extra information. Do you know that the Imagineers in Disneyland have weird kind of storylines that they do behind the scenes that connect the different rides? So the man who owns the Haunted Mansion is supposedly one of the pirates from the crew of the Pirates of the Caribbean, and he got all his gold and he built the Haunted Mansion, and he was cursed though, and that's why the Haunted Mansion is cursed. So it's kind of part of the whole Pirates of the Caribbean thing. And I think it also weaves into Thunder Mountain Railroad, but I don't know how. But there you go.
Well, that kind of fell off a cliff, but it was a great
A
adventure.
bit of information,
Whilst we were heading to the edge.
Find out yourself, you know?
And I sure will. I was going to say maybe we'll have some show notes and we'll put that kind of, if
Look,
we can
what I'm
trace
trying
it.
to do right here is pitch the Disneyland Disney Park cinematic universe, because they've got a rock movie coming out, Jungle Cruise, that's also based on a ride. So Haunted Mansion, Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean. Let's get this happening. Let's get a cinematic universe. Let's get Johnny Depp into the modern day.
Yeah, let's get them all together, and then for some reason they gather in Edinburgh at the start of their double whammy film, like the Avengers, and we, you know.
Fast and the Furious. This is a thing now.
Yeah,
that's. The movie goes through Edinburgh, but doesn't actually have anything of any major notice happen in Edinburgh.
No,
That's
and in
cool.
fact, the stuff that they do want to show in Edinburgh, they completely change its purpose. So, you know, just like a kitsched little bag shop, they change into a kebab shop for some reason.
Let's not forget
Because the global idea of Edinburgh is kebabs rather than... Right, anyway, George, would you like your bonus questions for the Pirates of the Caribbean? Okay, who provides the voice for Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Do you know what's really annoying? Was I almost said his name twice, making fun of him in the last 2 minutes, and now it's gone right out of my head. It's Bill. Bill, isn't it?
Yes, it's Bill. It's 50% of his name, so you can have 0.5 of a point.
It's Bill, and it's not Withers. Oh Christ! What? This is going to.
No, that's a completely different singing man who just died.
No, I know. I just thought of a name and I wanted to complete the sentence. Bill. Oh, it's not going to come to me. I'm sorry.
Bill Nye.
Nye.
And here you are. You can have 5. There's 5 points to get from this next question. There have been 5 Pirates movies. How many of them can you name?
This has really turned a corner into very heavy Pirates territory that I did not prepare for, but I'm glad. Okay, how many of them can I name? So, Pirates of the Caribbean 1, which I think is called Curse of the Black Pearl.
That sure is. That's a point.
So, Pirates of the Caribbean 2, or does Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End?
Yes, that's a point.
Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Ooh, he's got 3.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Ooh Boys, and what's the other one? That's 4, obviously.
Yep.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Ooh Boys, great movie. And
I mean, sure. Do you know what? Let's just give you that point.
It was a spin-off from Bad Boys. We all know that. And then
I thought it was on exclamation like Scooby-Doo would make. It's like, oh boy.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Land's End or something?
No.
On Stranger Land's End Tides. There we go. They wired Dead Men Tell No Tales or something.
That is a point. You got 4 out of 5 there. The other one you could have had is Dead Men's Chests. Dead Men's Chest.
Dead Men's Chest, and there's another one called Dead Men Tell No Tales or something.
Yes, yeah. There's an awful lot of death in these films. Would you give it credence? So at the end of that round, at the end of Cosplay Heroes, producer John from Mission Control, how many points did George get there?
George has 10.05 points.
Oh my goodness, that is...
Okay.
Let's see if we can even that up. Are you ready? Are you ready, George?
I specifically want to keep that 0.5 all the way to the end.
Okay, we are benevolent. We will make sure that you can do that. Are you ready for the final round?
Absolutely.
It's a final round full of just general geeky knowledge, which we're calling the final round full of general geeky knowledge. You're gonna have 3 minutes. I'm just gonna pummel some questions at you in 3 minutes. Pummel them fast at you like Superman delivering from Uber. Are you ready?
Messing around on this one. No chatting about cinematic universes at Disneyland parks. Just straight through. I'll do it.
Let's see what you're made of, George. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready, producer John, to give the 3 minute countdown?
Of course. I am a robot.
And at the end of 3 minutes, what will George hear to signify the end of the round?
Smurgeon, Bergen, Virgin, Virgin.
Of course. Old reliable. the Klingon phrase for 8 points. Okay, George, let's do this. We're going to start now. Name the 2 comic actors who've played the ship's computer Holly on Red Dwarf.
Oh, Christ, pass.
Christ and pass is not correct. Who played Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the original 1992 movie?
Oh, fuck you. I was so ready with Sarah Michelle Gellar. I have no idea. Not a human.
Sure, do you know what? Okay, who's Buffy the Vampire Slayer in that Buffy TV show?
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh my god, yes, he's the king amongst men. Which actor has chalked up the most amount of appearances across the Star Trek franchise?
Oh, surely, oh my god, surely the Data guy, that guy, Data.
No, it is in fact Michael Dorn as Worf. He was in 175 episodes of The Next Generation, 102 of Deep Space Nine, and he was in 5 movies. Which Irish actor is the only person to appear in 2 Star Trek series pilots and 2 series finales?
Colin Meaney?
Yes, it is. Yes, he was in the pilots for The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and the finales for those series as well. What is your favourite Iron Man film?
Oh, Iron Man 3.
Okay, correct. Which DC superhero is said to be referenced in some way in every single episode of sitcom Seinfeld?
Superman.
Yes, it is. In what year did the first Batman first appear in comics?
1947?
1939. We see a CGI recreation of actor Peter Cushing in the Star Wars film Rogue One. What is the character's name?
Oh, Grand Admiral Tarkin?
Yes, Tarkin.
Tarkin.
Named the child in scripts. Come up with a really good name for what Baby Yoda's actual name might be.
It's gonna be boys.
Okay. John Hurt famously has an alien blast out through his stomach in the 1979 Ridley Scott film Alien. It happens to him again in which 1987 sci-fi spoof by Mel Brooks?
Spaceballs.
Yes, it does. What does TARDIS stand for in Doctor Who?
Time and relative dimensions in space.
Yes, please. In later series of The X-Files, Robert Patrick and Annabeth Gish took over as leads from Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny. Name their characters.
That is, you could get a computer to learn all human knowledge and it would not know that answer. Nobody knows that.
It is John Doggett and Monica Reyes.
You're wrong. You think that, but you're wrong.
Okay, let's give them some points anyway. What famous phrase was on the poster of the UFO? Okay, I've started.
You'll finish?
I've started, so I will obey the rules and I will finish when producer John has spoken. So we'll never know the end of that question. At the end of round 3, our general knowledge, producer John, how many, well, for the show, how many has George gotten? How many points?
The meatbag George Fox has 28.05 points.
Nice.
Ooh, okay, so
Love it.
having never done this before and have no frame of reference, I'm still going to say that's actually a really great score. That's
good. I hope that's just a high point that nobody ever reaches again.
okay. Well, let's see if the space authorities manage to track me down, the murderer that I am. And I said as a prize I would tell you where the bodies are buried. I won't do it here. I'll just send you a text after this. So.
Oh, that sounds like you're going to murder me, and that's how I find out where the
We'll
bodies.
see. We'll see what happens.
Oh, that's why I'm here. Oh no!
George, thank you for being our very first contestant on Science Factions. Before you go for your return to an infected, beplagued planet Earth, where can we follow you on social media? Have you anything that you'd like our wonderful viewers to find you?
Yeah,
Plug. I was trying to say it a bit more nicely than you got anything to plug, mate, but
plug, mate. Yeah.
Anything to plug?
I do. If you want to follow me on social media, it's @ComedyFox on all the social medias, and you can find out when I'm doing things on the internet. I have a new series. It's got a video series that's going to be coming out soon. That's going to be fun and like this.
What's the new series? What are you doing?
I'm doing a series that we still haven't figured the name out of, but it's going to be basically comedians talking about things that they like and trying to suggest to people to check them out. So if there's a different pop culture thing, or if there's a thing that you particularly enjoy, for example, you might come on to talk about Star Trek or Star Wars or anything like that. And it just gives people a kind of gateway into kind of seeing different subgenres and weird, quirky pop culture things that they've never had the time to check out. But now that we're in the middle of a whatever, let's not say it, they have time to check it out. So we're gonna do that soon. And the way to find out about that is check it out at Comedy Fox on all the socials.
Perfect. Well, George, again, thank you and congratulations. I am now going to have a bit of a float about in space. There's actually no social distancing restrictions up here, so I can touch whoever I want, but there's nobody up here, so swings and roundabouts, which if you're back home on Earth, don't go on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us in this pilot episode of Science Factions. I hope we get to do it again. Oh Christ. Fuck me. Sorry, I'm going to have to go to the Royal Free now, and I'll probably incapacitate for a couple of weeks, and then we'll do a couple more of these. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been Science Factions from Monkey Barrel Comedy.